This is TWiT.
And so the news this week is there's new iPad hardware. Leo has the 10.5 iPad. I gave it a little hands-on on the screensavers, the new screensavers, and I had to give it back. But thank goodness.
Here.
Oh, thank you.
Just hold that one. Think about it.
It's very light. 1.1 pounds. Is that how big it is?
Yeah, it's basically
it's
a pound.
Nice.
And,
very nice.
You know, out of context from your 9.7-inch iPad, it doesn't feel like it's that much bigger. It is a little bit bigger, but it's not a lot bigger given that the screen is quite a bit bigger.
No, and it's supposed to be like a full-size keyboard, but so it's bigger than this. You can't use this old keyboard.
Yeah, so it's a little bit wider. It's what, 0.4 of an inch, I think, wider. And according to Apple, there is actually, believe it or not, a spec for how what a full-size keyboard is. And it has a little bit of a range, but what Apple has been able to do in the new smart keyboard on the 10.5 is make it just the QWERTY keys just wide enough that it counts as a full-size keyboard. They are noticeably wider than they are on the 9.7. All the other keys, of course, are like narrow and weird because they want those letter keys to be proper. But when you're typing, that's what you want. So it's just a little bit bigger, but it is a little goes a long way when it comes to the size of the keys on the smart keyboard. And
you hosted the Tech Guy yesterday, and you were doing a little explanation, and you made a point to define the word bezels, which I thought was smart because not everybody knows what a bezel is.
What a bezel is, how you pronounce a bezel. Is it a bezel? Is it a bezel? Nobody even knows. But they're these borders that we have around our devices that are they're trying to go away now, but they're still there, right? So so yeah, if you look at it and you see you've got a white screen with a black ring around it, that's the bezel.
Yeah, that's the bezel. And I think it makes a difference. Apparently my thumbprint is not your thumbprint, which is good because that'd be weird if it was.
If you just press cancel, you'll get, I think, won't you get my little,
you get
my screen, you can see the bezel a little more clearly there. But yeah, there's a border around your screen that is just the part where you kind of put your fingers, and that's where you hold it. And that various companies are trying smartphones, tablets, everybody's trying to get those things out of the product because then the more you maximize the screen, I mean, the screen's got to be the size it's going to be. People love the screen, but the rest of it you can get rid of, and that saves on size. And that's why this 10.5 iPad is not that much bigger than the 9.7 is, because a lot of the size increase on the screen is offset by the size reduction on the bezels.
And I notice I'm leaving a ton of fingerprints on this too.
It happens.
Do you like the white? You like the black screen better than the white screen?
I like the black screen better than the white screen for a couple reasons. One is that when it's off like that, you know, it's a good match. And the other thing is when it's on, especially if you've got the True Tone display that these have, if the white point on the display is sort of yellowy, you know, they don't make a True Tone like material for the bezel.
Right.
And so that white is always that shade. It can be reflective in different light, but I always found it like a little bit weird when the white on the bezel didn't match the white on the display. So I always kind of go for the black one, but they make both. It's like chocolate and vanilla. They make both flavors. You can have the one that you like.
You can.
I'm a space gray iPad kind of person myself.
You can't get the pink in a rose gold, as we call it. They don't sell the rose gold in the 12.9 though.
No.
You can't. Why?
Apple has a really weird attitude about the 12.9. The first one that came out a year and a half ago, the accessories that they made for it, they made a smart cover for it that you could get in white or gray. You get the smart keyboard, which comes in gray. And they made a back shelf for it that came in white or gray. Now, the 9.7, you had all sorts of colors you could choose from. You could get a smart cover with like a red. There are all these nice colors. And on the 12.9, nothing. So that's broken down a little bit. We actually have a few accessories now that come in. There's a brown leather case. There's the midnight blue case. So there's a little bit more color. But it's weird because it's obviously extended to the color selection of the device that you end up with. No rose gold. Like, that's a bridge too far for the 12.9.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the other thing that I learned yesterday from watching the Tech Guy is that they're not making the 9.7.
9.7 is yes, you are using your beloved 9.7 iPad Pro. It's a discontinued model. The 10.5 is basically the next generation 9.7.
Yeah.
And that's because I think they want to differentiate it from the iPad, the 5th generation iPad that they released. That's the 349 iPad. That is the 9.7 now. And then for an iPad Pro, you get a little bit bigger display. So that's the argument there.
Yeah, if I did not have this, I would definitely get this. I'm not sad. I'm not wishing for the 9.7 anymore because, I mean, there's no reason to have this smaller keyboard.
They're pretty close, right? It would be kind of confusing if they were if they were both available at the same time, because they're so close together. I think it's it's a little confusing that the iPad is still there at 9.7, but at least that is a thicker, heavier, slower, and much cheaper iPad than the Pro.
How much is just the regular iPad?
Isn't it $349? It might be $329. I don't know. It is. They cut the price on it, so it's a lot less than it used to be for sure. It's terrible. I'm terrible with prices.
Yeah, sorry, I am too. Let's go with either $329 or $349, or maybe Josh.
It's such a good deal. $329.
$329.
Look at that. Such a bargain at $329.
So who would you recommend just the iPad to? Just the regular iPad? Who needs that?
I think anybody who is not really wanting to be on the cutting edge of the iPad, is not doing a lot of multitasking, is not planning on using it for a lot of work, but is thinking of it as that lean back device. They want to do their email, they want to check Twitter or check into a Slack group or things like that, watch a movie. That's what that device is for. It's basically an iPad Air, so it's sort of 3-year-old technology. So it's not going to be cutting edge, but for a lot of people, they don't want that. They really do want to give it to their kid for watching videos, or they want to do light email on it. And I think that's the smart thing about Apple separating these two product lines like they are, is the prices are very different. And the power of the devices is very different. If you want to do split screen multitasking and drop in a picture-in-picture, and you've got a keyboard that you're attaching and all of that, if you want to do all that, you want an iPad Pro.
So let's say you bought the first iteration of the iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch, the original one, which was, I guess, 2 years old.
The 12.9 came out in December of 15, November of 15,
Okay.
Maybe it was October. It was late 15, and then in the spring of 16, so just a little more than a year ago, the 9.7 came out.
So who would you recommend the right person to upgrade who got that? And then is there any reason to get this one from that? Like, is there an upgrade in so much, there's the new True Tone, there's the ProMotion.
So the 12.9 has gotten an awful lot of updates. I actually wrote a piece at 6 Colors about this because nobody else had written it yet, and I wanted to read it, which is what exactly is going on with the 12.9. So it's the idea that there are a lot of things that different, because it lagged behind a little bit on the 12.9 from the 9.7. So there's a huge gain there. Both of these models have the iPhone 7 cameras now. So they're way better cameras. The 12.9 model before didn't have a flash. It didn't have the True Tone display. It didn't have the wide color gamut. It didn't have the brighter screen. It didn't have the anti-reflective coating that's the latest and greatest there. There's so many things that are better now. And then they all get the processor. Oh, it didn't have the Apple SIM, so you could switch. I think it may have shipped with like a physical Apple SIM in it, but this has got the internal, fully virtual Apple SIM if you've got the cellular model, so you can go to a country and just bring up a screen and say, I want to buy cellular service, and it auto-programs itself to be the SIM card. So there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. They both had the faster processor, the A10X Fusion, which is a lot faster. I did some tests on the 12.9 and found that the new model is 33% faster as a single core, 89% faster in dual core. It's pretty amazing. Not that most of the apps that you use stress out the iPad's processor, but if you are doing heavy-duty work on these things, they are fast. They are faster than a lot of laptops are at this point.
So a lot of those games that they always show off at the Apple demos that no one really plays.
Right. The graphics stuff is pretty impressive, and so that's going to drive those games if they ship and if anybody plays them. And then a bunch of apps that I think there are more pro-level apps coming to the iPad now. I feel like there's been a little bit of a lag, but the conception that the iPad as a piece of hardware and that iOS as a piece of software can't support professional level apps. It's just the hardware and software is really there now for it, and we're starting to see even more apps that stress that processor on these models.
And how does the pencil? I know the pencil is supposed to get some improvements with the new iPads. It's supposed to know what you're about to draw, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think they do some prediction now, but with the new ones, the prediction is there's more of it. They're trying to reduce lag. The ultimate goal with the pencil or any stylus is to reduce lag, because ultimately this is about illusion. You want the illusion that you're putting graphite or ink down on a piece of paper, even though you're not. You're touching a piece of plastic to a piece of glass. So how do you do that? And one of the reasons is you want to get the tip of the pencil to the paper to be immediate. Like when you move the pencil, what you draw is right there. And when it fails is when you move the pencil and you can see the line tracing behind what you're drawing. The whole illusion is broken. So with these new models, not only are they still scanning at 240 times a second to see where your pencil is, but they've got the ProMotion display, so it's at 120 times a second they're able to draw. So first off, right there, you're cutting a lot of the lag out because you're drawing faster. And then Apple does this predictive thing where they look at the vector and speed of where you're drawing and make a guess about where you're going to be drawing and update to sort of anticipate that, which is, you put that all together and you can get down to a very small amount of lag, that's the goal. They've got more room there to go, but they're getting closer to that feeling of really drawing on paper.